Yeah, we learned a lot from TCU. It's what all good teams try to do. You learn when you're successful, and you also learn when you run out of time and lose from time to time. So TCU game, we actually got off to a good start. We played really good basketball until the end of the first half. We had a really bad stretch, both offensively and defensively, in the first half. So I think we were up 4 at half, and we really should have been up a lot more than that. And certainly the start of the second half was our worst 4-minute game of the season. Give TCU a lot of credit for that. Bain had an outstanding game, and they were the more aggressive team, especially in those 2 8-minute segments, those 2 4-minute games. We showed a lot of grit coming back. We did some stuff with our full court pressure that we can build on, and so there was positives and negatives. We were obviously disappointed not to win the game, but not a lot of time to beat ourselves up, right? It's next game on the schedule, and certainly Saturday is a great opportunity for our young team.
In terms of Saturday, I guess, what have you seen from Kentucky? I know everyone kind of knows the brand name, but they got some real good players, Tyrese Maxey, Nick Richards, and kind of all those guys.
Good as advertised. It starts with their coaching. These big-time programs that have all the players and have all the 5 stars, sometimes the coaching doesn't get enough attention. It's like in our league. We know in our league that Bill Self is one of the best coaches in the history of college basketball, but sometimes the identity of Kansas is all the great players. I'd be really quick to tell you, and 100% accuracy, Coach Cal is one of the best that's ever done this. Year in, year out, he puts new teams in positions to be successful, and this year's team is no different. They have an identity. They're an aggressive offensive team that tries to get to the free throw line. They're a really good defensive team. Again, sometimes, the identity is the players and the brand, but very similar to when we played like Duke last year, or Kansas, or Louisville this year. These teams are really good defensively. They have rim protection with their length. They have great guard play. So it's a great Kentucky team. To me, what kind of sticks out is you think Kentucky depends on freshmen, but this year only 1 freshman in their starting lineup most nights, and they only play 2 or 3. So it's kind of dangerous to think about Kentucky having returning experienced players, but that's what this year's team is. They're definitely a pick to win the national championship and a Final Four team in my eyes.
You're focused on the game, but I guess when were you kind of enamored with Kentucky? And I guess what's it like to kind of see that blue on the other side I guess, if you will.
I'm not really enamored by anybody. I mean, all due respect to Kentucky, we're going to try to win the game and play well. I'm enamored by, maybe meeting Bob Seger one day. Never been able to get that done. I'm enamored by maybe hearing Van Morrison live. I've never been able to get that done, but I think it'd be pretty cool to have a Miller Lite with Larry Bird. I've never been able to get that done, but I respect Kentucky, but we expect to win the game.
Couple of off-the-court things, Coach. An update on Tyreek heading into this game. Any chance that he might suit up for you guys?
No, he still hasn't practiced yet. He's like I told you guys last time. Appreciate y'all always interested in everybody on our roster. He's been cleared to go through workouts, so he's been working out really hard, like 1-on-0, basically individual workouts, pad and what have you. And this week we actually hope to get him out there a little bit in practice.
Also, Joel.
I've not heard anything on Joel. Yeah.
How is TJ doing with his shoulder? Is that, I mean, clearly he's playing through it, but is that something that's significant for him, or?
Yeah, his coaches and players, you never want to make excuses, but I think one of my jobs as coach kind of defend our guys. Holyfield will never mention anything about that. That's just how he's wired. That's one of many reasons I respect him. But he's playing with a lot of pain. There's nobody in college basketball right now that's 100% healthy. You get knocked up, you get banged up, but I would tell you, Holy's going through his share of adversity, and he's combating it with great discipline, being in the training room every day and trying to take care of his body. And we're basically trying to improve his status while we play in competition, which is really hard to do, but it's that fine balance. But we've got great doctors and trainers here at Tech. Big Mike's doing a great job with him. But I mean, Holy, a lot of respect for Holyfield and how he's playing, through a lot of adversity right now.
Last week we talked about Halliburton. Can you kind of compare Hagens to him? Are they similar?
Yeah, Hagens, to me, I've never seen a better college point guard. I've seen a lot of great ones. We got a lot of great ones right here in our league, and we've had the pleasure to coach some ourselves. But he's as good as it gets in terms of a point guard. He runs their team on both ends. On defense, it starts with him, in my opinion. He's one of the great steal guys in college basketball. He's competitive. You can tell that he's played for coach for 2 years. You can tell that the first year he basically learned what Kentucky basketball meant, and now he defends their way of playing and exhibits their culture, almost perfectly from the outside looking in. All I can tell you is what I see on film. Then on the offensive end, he's a great assist guy. He is a playmaker. He's the definition of playmaker. He makes the other ones around him better, whether it be finding shooters, whether it be finding airspace lobs, or whether it be going to get a basket when they need it most. So not looking forward to competing against him, but I have enjoyed the week of preparation. He's one of those players that's just fun to watch, not fun to play against, but fun to watch. So he's special. Did you ask about another guy or just him? Yeah, he's a good point guard.
Coach, with a team like Kentucky that has 4 guys averaging right around the same together, I know you've played some other good offensive teams, but how does that stress your defense more with 4 guys that all have such similar production and they're not relying on 1 or 2 guys?
Yeah, that's what makes them great. And you don't use that word great a lot. I think it's one of the most overused words. We've talked about that before. Boy, he played great tonight. Well, he played 1 game. And he's a great shooter. Okay, great is like the most overused word I think in sports. There's a lot of good. Great is Jarrett Culver. Great is when you can do it consistently. But I would agree one thing about their team that is great is their consistency and their balance in scoring. We talk about that a lot, right? We've never tried to have a team here that has 1 leading scorer. When we're really good, it's when we have 4 or 5 guys in double figures. And Kentucky is a great example of this. They got 4 guys that get the double figures every night. And they got 5, 6, 7, 8 that are, future NBA players that could easily get there on any given night. So it's a huge challenge for our defense because you can't really game plan for 1 person or 2 people. You have to understand that you're playing against one of the best teams in college basketball. So, but the good news for us is we play in the Big 12, and every single night we prepare to play teams like this. I think Kentucky's really, really good. But we all understand how good the Big 12 is too. So it's the next game on the schedule for us. It's a special game that you kind of put an asterisk next to because of Kentucky and their brand and their history and their tradition and how good they are. But the reality of it is the ball will go up at 5 o'clock on Saturday, and it'll be very similar to the Big 12 games that we face every week, if we're going to continue to be relative in college basketball.
Also, people, you already mentioned it earlier a little bit, but a lot of people associate Kentucky and those top teams with a bunch of one-and-dones and freshmen and whatnot. How have you approached this week with your young guys going into, one of their biggest games of their career already against a team that has, just as much experience in general?
And we approach it exactly like we do every game, whether it's Creighton or Southern Miss or UT Rio Grande Valley or TCU. It's the next game on the schedule. So, we understand Kentucky. What makes it cool is everything they've done in the past. But, again, when the ball goes up, we've done a few good things here in the past, too. A couple weeks, months ago, we were playing for the national championship on Monday night, and Kentucky wasn't in that game last year. They've been in it many times, but the point is, we've earned the right to play in this game. We've got good players, too. We'll be prepared. We expect to play great. We expect for them to play great. We expect to have a chance to win the game on Saturday. But we do nothing different because it's Kentucky. Bill Russell said it best, the next game on the schedule is the most important game, and we've always kept that mentality, right? I'm not saying anything today that I didn't say 4 years ago when we played Incarnate Word, to start our time here. Houston Baptist, I think it was. This is exactly what we do. It's the next game on the schedule, and we try to control ourselves and how we play and how we think much more than concern ourselves with who we're playing.
Coach, when you're playing like blue blood programs or higher caliber programs, how does that positively affect the program here at Texas Tech?
I think in a great way. I think we're going to win on Saturday, no matter what the scoreboard says. Just to have a chance to play this game in Lubbock, means a lot. I have great appreciation for Keenan Evans and Zach and Devin and Justin Zaire, all those guys that helped our program get to the point where we deserve a chance to play one of the best teams in the country in Lubbock. So I think it's a win for our program to get this game. But the reality of it, again, is, it's a 40-minute basketball game at 5 o'clock on Saturday. But we've worked hard to build the program here, not just we as in terms of players and coaches, but our fan base, our administration. A lot of people in our media have worked hard as we built this program. So I think I hope it's a day that everybody's proud of, that we have a chance to play, Kentucky at home. And, I have great appreciation and respect for Coach Cal making this happen too. I said it again, I'm a firm believer. It's just my personal opinion, but I don't think the SEC and Big 12 got in the room and drew lottery cards and said, hey, Kentucky, Texas Tech. I think there was decisions made in this game, and I think the fact that we've been good and we've been relative and we've proven that we can handle and deserve a game like this. And I think, I think Coach Cal supported this game as well. So, I want to thank him for, the game in a lot of different ways, if that makes sense what I'm saying. It'll be competition at its best, and we're going to try to play well, and we're going to try to win the game, as will they. But we are appreciative of Coach Cal's role in this game coming to Lubbock.
And then kind of building off of that, how does that help you in terms of recruiting, in terms of ranking? Like, what are some of the other outside benefits to playing Blue Bloods and high-caliber teams?
I think we're past that. I think when we won the Big 12 and played in the Final Four, and recruiting's been going great the last couple of years. So I think it would just validate. It's just the next step in the process. We've played Duke and we've played Louisville and we played Seton Hall. We played in the Garden 3 straight years. I mean, we've got the program to the point where recruits understand, if you want to play in the NBA, you can come to Texas Tech and Lubbock, and we have the platform for you to get there. If you want to play one of the best schedules in all of college basketball each year, you can come to Texas Tech and have that. If you want to be coached hard every day and told the truth, you can do that. If you want to play in front of sold-out crowds and a passionate fan base, you can do that. You want to work towards getting a great education in a top-tier academic school, you can do that. You want to live in a college town where Texas Tech and the school is the biggest thing in town, we can provide that. So I think this game, as have a lot of other games already this season, prove that we're competing at the highest level of college basketball now. That's exactly what we're doing.
And then shifting gears just a little bit, the offense for this team has been a little up and down. What are specific things that you're looking for in practice and in games to help improve the offense to get it a little more efficient?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd agree with that, the offense being up and down. I would think that we were playing in one of the best leagues in college basketball. I think going into the TCU league, our offense might have been the number 1 offense in the Big 12. So I think when you lose a game, a lot of people kind of have different perspectives of it, but been proud of our offense this year. We're shooting good percentages. We're getting good balance. We've had some great halves. We've beaten some great teams. So I think our offense is a work in progress, as is our defense, as are our special teams. We're working hard to find consistency. I would leave it at that, but I'd respectfully disagree on the ups and downs. I think this year's team's starting to find a level of consistency that we're all proud of.
And then from a matchup perspective, I guess they have Nick Richards, who's 6'11", is really good. And then you have Russ. Do you expect Russ to play a little more, kind of like he did in the West Virginia game, just to match up size-wise?
We expect all of our guys to get ready to play and contribute when their names are called. So we've talked about that a lot in this room. We have a lot of confidence in all of our players. Those guys that aren't getting a lot of game time now are continuing to work and work and work. And when their name is called, they have to be ready. We've seen some great examples of that this year. Avery, Mac, guys that have worked and have earned the right. And Russ is certainly a guy that we are all really high on in our program internally. In terms of Kentucky's size, again, we face this every game in the Big 12. This game will be a little bit challenging because Coach Cal will put 2 bigs out there at the same time. It's obviously an above-the-rim game and an airspace game when you play against long, athletic teams like this. So, but again, the good news, we played against teams like this before. We'll have to rely on some of that experience, and we'll have to try to play the game in a way that gives us a chance to be successful. But nothing but respect for Kentucky and their players. It's going to be a huge challenge for us.
Chris, how well do you know Coach Calipari, or what interactions have you had with him?
I don't know how you say it. Do I know him really well and not so well? We have a relationship. I think this past year we were at the Peach Jam together, which is one of the great summer events in Augusta, and they're known for having the best hospitality room in all of the summer events, and it's a group of people there in Augusta that basically provide like the food, so they don't cater it out or anything fast food. They make it. It's like these unbelievable. I think I've talked about this before, haven't I, Carlos? Me and Carlos share a love of food, reflective on how me and Carlos look, but they'll have an unbelievable spread of like cold cut sandwiches, like homemade, and they wrap them up in like tinfoil, and they have like deviled eggs. I mean, how great are deviled eggs, right? remember when church ended and you went to the little hall and you had the deviled eggs. I used to have like tons when I was in line. But anyway, this summer, a coach was cool enough to, I think Berg was there with me, or Urick, and we sat there and visited for 15 or 20 minutes. So that was kind of a highlight of my coaching career, is being able to sit there with Coach. And also, when we've had some success this past couple of years, whether it be the Elite Eight or Final Four, or that Monday night game, he's been very just first class and gracious and complimentary of what we've been able to build here. So also, when I was an assistant coach here and he was coaching at Memphis, he came down one day with his staff on one of those FedEx private planes, and they actually watched practice. It was a pretty cool thing. I remember being a young assistant in the office, and he actually called in. I think he got Pat that morning in the office and said, "What time y'all practicing today?" And literally a couple hours later, they were here in Lubbock with their staff. So, guys like him and Coach Izzo and Coach Self and all these great guys that defend our game are the best coaches in college basketball. Coach Wright at Villanova, another great trait they have is they don't have all the answers. They're always trying to learn and stuff too, and you see that because their teams play different every year and they pick up new things. And I remember as a young coach thinking, here's Coach Cal, and he's going to come down and watch our practice. He was looking for new ideas, and that's one of many reasons I respect Coach. Is I think he's like a basketball guy, and he always takes care of like the path that he's at, whether it be the 5-star guys where he kind of grew up in coaching, and then now kind of the next wave of coaches, he's more than gracious. So to me, he's one of the best guys in terms of taking care of coaches, and that's one of the really many reasons I respect him.
So what would the Chris Beard that's playing in high school think about if you had told him that he was going to be in an arena going against Kentucky someday with a full house?
Yeah, well, I would have believed it. Not to be like arrogant, but a lot of confidence in myself growing up. All great players and great people at what they do, that strive to be champions. You have to have a confidence in yourself. So, I always believed that I could coach in games like this and help players win games like this. So I didn't know if it's going to happen, when I was living in Motel 6, coaching in the ABA, but you just keep plugging away. So I think games like this, I hope a lot of people along the way are proud, all the players that have played for us at different spots of the career and the ride and stuff. So, games like this represent a lot more than just me personally. It's like, I wouldn't be here today if Cinco Boone hadn't done a great job with me at Angelo State, or Brett Tanner at Fort Scott, or JT Locklear at Seminole, or, George Tuttle with the Warriors. There's a lot of people that paved the way, as do the players. Ramsey's not playing in a game like this today unless his dad support him along the way and his coaches support him along the way. So, every time I take the floor, it doesn't matter just we're playing Kentucky, but every time I take the floor, I reflect and think about how lucky I am to coach here and be able to coach these good players.
Versus last year at the free throw line and this year at the free throw line, what's the difference? How can you get more to the line?
We got to be a lot more aggressive, Steve. We got to learn how to, look for great shots instead of good. I think we settle a lot. Settling doesn't necessarily have to mean, taking a bad shot. Sometimes you settle for a good shot, but you're trying to get that great shot. It's just the balance of learning, that you got to get to the free throw line. Offensively, it's like it's a variety thing. You got to get everything. You can't just win with a three-point shot. You can't just win with a free throw. You got to get a lot of things done. I think one thing we do is sometimes we fall in love with one way to play. A three-point shot will be good to us, and we'll forget about getting to the free throw line. Or, other nights, the ball screen will be great for us, but we'll forget about the motion side of it. So when we're at our best, it's when we have diversity in our offense, and certainly we got to get the free throw line. And that TCU loss and that West Virginia loss is just a glaring thing on that stat sheet. And I think we got to be a lot more aggressive, and we have to learn how to get TCU game, we were aggressive. We just couldn't get to the bonus. So it's a challenge, and it's an objective of us. We have no plan to try to beat somebody and not get to the free throw line. And this is what Kentucky does best. In my opinion, this is their identity offensively, is how they put pressure on you and they get to that free throw line. So it's a real challenge for us. And, it's an opportunity to learn this week, too, as we prepare for this game, studying them. I think it makes our team better.
On the defensive side, how can you keep a team like Kentucky or anybody off of the offensive glass enough to be effective in the ball game and keep from giving up second chance points?
It'll have to be a team effort with our block out, right? It'll have to be a real scrap fest down there in that paint. It's going to have to be the Moros and Collars and Ramseys down there getting their nose dirty and If we can't get the rebound, we're going to have to tip it out. We're going to have to fight. We're just going to have to scrap. We've done this before, but it's definitely going to have to be an effort. We don't want a clean, kind of pretty game in that paint. It's got to get a little bit mucked up and dirty for us to have a chance because they're longer, they're more athletic. We're going to have to fight, but we find ourselves in this situation a lot in the Big 12, so this game will be no different.